everyone. Welcome back to Pointless Perspectives, and welcome to our first official episode of the new year. This week, we're going to be talking about a book series, specifically The Selection by, I believe it is Kiara Cass. And it was like super big back in like 2012 to like 2016 type era. And so we were like, you know what? Why not?
Yeah, early 2010s.
So basically it starts, the premise is like, we thought it would be, it's like Bachelor on steroids meets a little bit of like, you know, dystopian society and such. But basically there's this whole thing called The Selection where the monarchs in place like find a suitable, a significant other for the heir of the throne. And so in this case you have Maxon the prince, and but the story really centers around this girl named America and one, her journey to the selection process, and then like throughout the selection process. Yeah, that's what
It's
we're going
like America, this is like hundreds and hundreds of years after like now, I guess. It's just like a futuristic society where like we lose like the USA, like America, and there's now like a new place, like the same land, same country, but like new name, new way of governing. And then part of that process is that we get like a monarchy back, and how it's like there's a caste system in place where like your family is put into a rank, and then that's kind of where you're stuck unless you marry up, is essentially how they show it.
And like each cast has like a role. So I think like cast 6 is like servants, cast 5 is like artists.
They call it like class, or like just like numbers.
Yeah.
Like if you're 2 or 7, whatever.
Yeah. And like,
but it's essentially a caste system.
Basically, yeah. And 8 is the lowest and 1 is the highest, obviously. 1 being the royal peoples. But yeah. So, first of all, the reason why I started reading this book is because, like, I guess at the time everyone was like into it, and like we had just gotten done with, like, I feel like Hunger Games and Divergent and all of those kind of dystopian novels had come out. On top of that, I think it was Matched had also come out during that time. If you remember, like, it was basically a tightly controlled society where young people are matched with their life partners at age 17.
Oh, I don't think I've heard of that. I probably heard it when it was around, but I haven't heard it since. So
yeah,
I definitely didn't read that then, because I would have remembered if I read it.
Yeah, it was like, well, yeah, I read that, and that was kind of what got me into like the dystopian society, because it was Hunger Games, Divergent, Matched, and then there was also Cinder by Marissa Meyer. Marissa Meyer, like, obviously like an OG, like, love Cinder, love that whole series, and it was definitely very different. But again, that dystopian society.
Wasn't that Cinder like a dystopian twist on Cinderella?
Yes, but it's like
I've seen the title of it all the time in like the library, but I never picked up the book.
Oh, girl, you gotta read that shit. It's good.
There's a lot that I missed. I mean, this is like an example was this, like, I think in that time, like middle school time, like I read dystopian novels that were like extremely popular, like had movies coming out because I was curious. But overall, like I actually read more like romance based like teen novels and like mystery novels. So I stayed out of like that, what was like very popular at the time. Like I don't think I read popular books until I later on, and when I was like, I should probably read this. I always read like some like different like low key books that just like was like romance based, and I was like interested in reading. I read a lot of Sarah Dessen, which wasn't obviously a low key author, but like she has a lot of like standalone romance books. They're not series based, so I just like read those a lot. So the selection definitely slipped through. Like I didn't know it existed until earlier in the summer when I was on book TikTok, essentially.
Yeah, no, I was was and still am like a very big like book nerd. So like literally my best friend and I used to go to the library, like go to Barnes and Nobles and just read books for a day, and that would be like our fun outing. And like the librarians knew me, and they'd be like, "Oh my god, you would really like this book," and they'd like hand me books. And so like one of them was the selection, because and so that is how I got there. But yeah, it was like I read the back cover and I was like, okay, interesting, very interesting. This is way before I knew that The Bachelor existed and like all that crap.
Yeah.
But it's cool. So basically, and your girl was really rooting for Aspen at the beginning. So spoiler alert, there was basically America doesn't want to enter this whole selection primarily because she already has a boyfriend that she is very much in love with in like her hometown. And so I'm a sucker for like history and like memories. And so I was like, yeah, I get it. But then Aspen is kind of like, well, you should go. This is like a good thing, which made my heart hurt for him even more. But like, yeah.
So basically, Aspen is in a lower class than America, and essentially, like, the way it works is like, if she married Aspen, she would lose her class and go lower. It's not like he would come up, and so then she would have to be like in the servant class with him. And I think he like was realizing like when you're put into the selection, like you have a chance to become a one, which is like crazy. Yeah. So, and if not, I believe like even if you don't win, there was benefits, like you get put up to a 2, and then you automatically get more money and like things like that. So like he understood that this was not just an opportunity for her, but for the family, and he realized that like she was holding back because of him, and so he just decides to cut that tie that was holding her back, and just like breaking it off and saying you should go.
Yeah. Again, made my heart hurt even more because he was really thinking about the bigger picture, and she was like, "But I love you." And yeah. No, super sweet. Anyways, America's like, "All right, screw it." And like goes.
Cuz she's so mad at him too. Yeah. Like they show like she kind of goes out of spite.
She's like, "You know what? Screw you. I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna win, but I'm gonna go." And then she goes. Yeah. And then basically, she goes. And like another reason why like it ended up being like a solid decision, or like how like Aspen perceived it to be a good decision, is because they also send like a stipend to her family. And like obviously being of the lower caste, they're not super well off, so anything helps. Yeah. Anyways, so she's not really into marrying the Prince Maxon, but they become friends because they meet and they vibe. But yeah, so basically, I think the whole caste system like irks me, but you find out later like the reasoning and all that stuff. But it's a very violent society. It's like more violent than I would have expected from like something that I feel like is marketed more like towards like young like
I don't know. Considering that Hunger Games was in the same genre.
I mean, yeah, you're right.
That was actually violent.
That was very violent, yes.
Yeah, they had like some instances of like violence, but like it wasn't that bad.
It wasn't Hunger Games level violence.
It was very on brand for that type of storytelling.
Yeah.
Dang, I'm trying to remember another old series that I read like at the same time as this, or around the same time, because I was getting into books in the summer. I can't remember the name of the series. It was like about the elf land or whatever.
Elves Land? I'm
Not
pretty
elf
sure
land,
I
but like,
know what you're talking about, but I need you to give me a little bit more.
bruh, it's like a separate world that's off of like Boston.
No, I got nothing.
It's like a fairy tale kind of world, but essentially it's like, again, like this whole like monarchy, but like it's with elves, and like the main girls are like twins that got taken away from, they're like humans, like fully human, and they get taken away out of their home, and oh crap.
Is it just Honora?
Honora?
Yeah.
Is that the name of the book that you're talking about? Dang, I can't believe I really forgot that book title.
It's okay. It'll come back.
That one was also very,
Like violent.
yeah, like it had like a lot of like, backstabbing and like all like
Oh,
the whole like monarchy stuff in the background that was happening.
I see. I
Oh
see.
dude, this was like a straight up like enemies to lovers book series, and that was like one of the reasons why I read it, and like
Oh man.
I already had fallen in love with them. It was like kind of like sensual too, and I was like,
Is it Bound by Birthright? I am currently on Google, just you know.
oh my god, why don't I just like go to my books in my computer
Are
and
you
see
kidding me?
if there's like if I still have like the
This woman.
e-version of it.
Mm.
Listen. There it is. Oh yeah. Cruel Prince.
Oh, that's not
Wow.
okay. You really
What?
okay, yes. We definitely
I,
talked about this, and I
yeah,
feel
and
so
I've
dumb.
explained everything I said is exactly what that plot is. It's just like
Yes, you're right, but I just think it's so funny that we definitely talked about this, and then
that was a good series.
it was a good series.
I mean, I didn't 100% agree with like the main lead in that one. Like Maxon was definitely a little better than that, but
Mm,
than that main character, but as in like the beginning at
yeah.
least. I don't know.
No, there's another book series that is kind of like the Glass Sword, the Red Queen series. I don't know if you heard of
Yeah,
that.
say, isn't that a Sarah J. Maas or no?
No, it's a Victoria Aveyard. But anyways,
Oh,
it's also
I
really
didn't.
interesting. Like it kind of follows the similar thing of um like a girl from like a poor family is like uh is like she goes to the palace and like yeah, she goes to the palace and like falls in love and blah 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 and like there's like some weird shit and like yeah.
The Red Queen, right? That
Yeah,
series.
the Red Queen. Yeah. It's
You
like
say it's similar
silver.
to the Selection series.
It's similar in that like there's not caste but there's groups, so like the silvers and the reds, and the silvers have like powers which like not magic but like also kind of magic. Um
So like superpowers.
they got superpowers, yeah, basically, and the reds are like normal people.
Mm.
And basically um they basically Mare, the main person, ends up like having is like taken to the king's residence and given a job as like a servant type deal, just to make up for like less like the selection, more like there's groups and then there's a love story with the monarch figure and like
Mm.
but also drama, much
Mm.
drama. But yes,
Mm.
anyways, back to the selection itself. Solid book. Um and like we talked about this as well. It's definitely like a slow burn cuz like nothing is wrapped up in just one book. Right? Like the first book, it's not
Yeah.
like oh, they get together and then like the
Yeah.
second and third books are like oh, like how they have to deal with their relationship or the resulting thing. It's like you don't know the the end, like what happens at the end of the whole selection process until like dead ass the third book. So
Yeah, and then also, by the way, like the series is labeled as a 5-book series. The first three are follow America and Maxon and all that, and it ends actually with the third book. And then the fourth and fifth book jumps 20 years in the future when they are like married and have like kids, and is now their oldest child's turn in being a part of the selection.
yeah.
And it's like a flip basically, like you know, right, like it was Maxon and all the girls, and then their oldest is a girl, so now it's their daughter with like all these guys.
It went from the Bachelor to the Bachelorette, guys.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, to give like two different perspectives. Haha.
Yes.
It's also like different too because now you're getting it from the royal perspective.
True.
Right, because like the first three books is like just America's point of view, and you're like, she's just like unsure like how Maxon views her out of like all the others. And then in the last two books, I'm sure it's like about like the daughter unsure about which one to choose, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. But I think like I haven't read the last two books.
Neither have I, so I can't even comment on
Yeah,
it.
so we can't talk about it, but it does seem like a pretty interesting premise for sure. And like with the first book, like or the first part of the series, I guess, books 1 through 3, Maxon's the only like heir to the throne. Like he was the only one. Like he was definitely going to be the king because they had no other children. But in the second part of the series, books 4 and 5, with like Maxon and America's children, there's like multiple children. So I think it's also interesting to see like how the siblings interact and how that affects, and if there's jealousy or things like that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Because like I feel like obviously like things are different when you're like an only child versus like siblings. And like
Yeah, but I mean, that whole only child thing didn't even affect us because it wasn't ever given in that narrative.
yeah.
Because America had siblings.
Yeah. But I think oh yeah, well I guess it won't be that different then. I don't know.
So basically, that actually kind of ties in. So the author of the whole series, she ended up making like novellas after the 5-book series that kind of like fit, that were in other people's perspectives that fit in at certain plot points that you've already read, but it's just like the other perspective. So like I believe she did make a novella of following Maxon's perspective
I see.
after the fact, and it was like, and it kind of like actually like I think spanned for like a large part of the selection process. And it was just like jumping to like critical moments that you would have wanted to see like his perspective on.
I see. That's nice. That's very nice. Kiara Cat's really giving the people what they want. Or Kira Cat.
I know. I just find it so sad. Not sad, but it's like one of those things where once authors like get like a really popular series, it almost is like they're
Only
confined into that series. And I say this like pretty like confidently just because like that's all I've like noticed, right? Like Kiara Cass made a 5-book series. You know, that was maybe the first 3 was the original plan, but she made another 2 because she saw the popularity of it, right? And then she made all these novellas because she knew that people would enjoy it. And like I understand, like you want to give what like your audience would like while also pushing the momentum of like what's making you popular.
Yeah.
But it's also okay to like, I mean, yeah, like Rick Riordan fully went into the mythology fiction books after Percy Jackson, like fully like delved in that world. Like he probably did different things before, but he completely let it go once Percy Jackson became as popular as it did. But I think he still found ways to make it interesting for himself by doing different mythologies and finding ways to connect everything.
Yeah. I think that's really cool too.
But I do also notice, so that maybe that's why I'm saying it's because like I went to like, okay, this is like a weird, like almost like tangent and a half, but like I don't know if you know like Menards.
What?
You don't know Menards?
No.
Okay, so out here we have something called Menards, which is like essentially like a Home Depot, just like a hardware store.
Yeah, okay, I just looked it up. It's only located in the Midwestern United States.
Okay, sorry, I don't know. Like, how am I supposed to know? I've only been in the
You did
Midwest,
this
like
with
lived
Biddy or Bin, that liquor store thingy. Bins, bin.
Benny's.
Yeah, that's only in the Midwest.
Well, I don't know fully because like I'm only been like school and living has been in the Midwest. I
Yeah.
haven't been out. And these are like small stores, right? Like, you won't ever like really know if everyone has it.
Mm-mm.
But Menards is basically like just like like a hardware store, and like they have like multiple branches. But in there, they sell like sometimes technically more than just like supplies and appliances.
Mm.
They actually have like a little book nook sometimes.
Oh.
Um, they've gotten smaller over the years, but like there's like just a little section where they keep like most recent published books and stuff like that you can buy. And so I was there the other day because we've been like going to the hardware store all the time for the house. And on the shelves, I'm seeing two things, right? I'm seeing the new book by J.K. Rowling that follows basically Harry Potter's child.
The Cursed Child?
Yeah, I'm seeing that.
Okay.
And then I'm seeing Stephanie Meyer released a new book that follows Edward's perspective in the Twilight series.
Oh, shoot.
And I'm looking at this and I'm like, is that it? Like, is that all they're ever gonna write? Like,
Oh my god. Okay, I definitely thought that the Edwards version of it, like, like
it's a
Edward.
thick book. I mean,
Yeah, I didn't. No, I literally got. I got into an argument about this with my brother. I was like, "There's no way this is a serious thing." He was like, "Yeah, it's Midnight Sun," and I was like, "What?"
yeah, it has a picture of like a pomegranate on it.
A pomegranate. Yeah, I did. I literally thought my brother was messing with me because he would do something like that. But yeah, it
All
was
you gotta do is
actually.
look it up. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it came out last year actually, so it is like very
Yeah.
new.
Wow. Wow. But yeah. Yeah, no, they've all like especially the ones that have made it big, have just stuck to it, like which I get because like if it
Like,
ain't
think about it.
broke, then like
Yeah, like think about it. Like, this Midnight Sun came out in 2020, and Twilight was a 2005 series.
I don't know what to tell
So
you.
this woman just like wrote like 15 years later from like the first book she decided to make.
I mean, let's be honest. We're probably gonna get like another like a 50 Shades of Grey from like the main dude's perspective because this is definitely like a thing. Like even with older books with like the Marissa Myers like Cinder, like there was like a novella type thing like you mentioned with the selections author, like where they
Mm-hmm.
have different perspectives of different people.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's definitely like been a thing that they're doing. But yeah, no, once they like make it big, I think a lot of people just stick with it, which obviously makes sense, but like still, it can get annoying and it also I feel like you could like writers can probably get burnt out because it's like you're sticking with one thing
Yeah,
the whole
which
time.
is kind of why I think I'm like I find that interesting about like Jenny Han.
Mm,
I don't know, she just came in my head because she makes like series, right? Like little series here, and like all most of her books are like trilogies.
yeah.
Um, and they're all like this similar like romantic uh teen
Vibe, yeah.
romance novels, but like they're all different. Like they're different characters and storylines. And she's made multiple of these, so like, and a couple of the series have gotten popular.
Mm-hmm.
The Samurai turned pretty serious, and then like the To Be or Not. Oh my god, To Be or Not To.
To
To All the
all the
Boys
boys.
I've Loved Before. To All the Boys I
We
Loved
watched
Before.
both those
Yes.
movies together and you still can't get the title right? SMH.
Well, it just the way the title is long, it get
Yeah.
a jumble. But yeah, so like both of those series got really popular. Obviously, To All the Boys I Loved Before became as a Netflix like movie series now. But The Summer I Turned Pretty was also quite popular. It just never got like the whole film adaptation, and I think she's made more. She's done more that's
She
not
has.
popular. It's just like I haven't delved into it, or I haven't realized it's her. Because I didn't realize that one of my favorite book series was her until I looked into it later. But she
Yeah.
has like individual series, and like once it's done, it's done. Like I
Yeah.
don't think I've seen her make anything again back to that whatever world, because she wraps it up.
Yeah. Which I think is nice too, like, because closure for, because thing is, her stories usually end with closure, and um, like you get like the ending that you kind of wonder, like you see coming. But I think another thing is like that Jenny Han doesn't do that all these other people do, is that they create their own worlds. So essentially, like, because Jenny Han writes in like the world we live in, right? But
Yeah, it's realistic. Yeah, that's
yeah,
true. Like she's not creating like
yeah.
a
And
dystopian
so
world.
with like the selection series, the Cruel Prince, the Red Queen, all of these things have their own worlds, and therefore they take years to like obviously like create, because you have to understand the dynamics and like power, and you plan all that stuff out. And I think it's harder also to like say goodbye to that world, because then you have to like you work for another couple of years on creating a new world, and then which like you can't make money obviously, because like you're working on another like world. You have to plan that out before you can like write
Yeah,
the
that's
actual
true. It's
book.
very easy to just keep writing in the same
Mm.
mold, which means that you might as well connect stories.
Yeah, I mean, like that's what Rick
But
Riordan's
that's it.
doing, and he's like balling.
Yeah, recording.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it makes sense in that context because they're slight connections, but they're essentially new stories.
Mm.
But like in the situation of like, well, Twilight takes place in the modern, like, sorry, modern, current world thing. You're just adding in a mythological, like,
Yeah,
storyline.
yeah,
Like the Cruel Prince and stuff. That's a whole new. Like, she
yeah.
literally created a whole new world on the side,
Mm.
and like, even the selection, it's a whole new
World.
type of
Yeah.
America, of like US. So like those factors are there.
Yeah. Yeah. True. I just think, yeah, because like I remember back in the day we had like this author named of the series called Fablehaven, I want to say, which is like this fantasy, Brandon Mole. It's like fantasy book series for children, and like he talked to us about like how long it actually took him to come up with the world and like his plot lines and plan everything out, and it was literally at least 5 years, and I was like, oh god, like that's a big commitment.
Yeah, I definitely do agree. Like it takes a lot to even start these type of series, so it makes sense that they would want to stick with it once it's popular.
Mm,
Because like, why not?
yeah.
You know, why
Literally, I mean, like, why not?
people enjoy that world, and like, I do think like audience still enjoys same stories, but like different perspectives is really cool to give, unless you're already making it
Yeah,
integrated within the book. But
yeah, I think, yeah, that's just like that's what I think, which is why I'm like, I'm okay if like they want to. It's just like depends on what, like if I choose to read it, right? Like I'm like, okay, go for it. But I don't know if I'll personally read it, if that makes sense.
yeah, that's why I do like the novella concept, where it's like I don't need to read you to like get the rest of the story. Like you are on the side if I
Mhm.
want to read you. Um like I don't like when I have to read like so many books just to get to like the ultimate end, right? Like because you're trying to cover all these perspectives.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that's one of the things like I feel like if you do that whole thing, it one, it's a lot of effort because you have to like for the author to create like a cohesive work with like all of these different perspectives and emotions and stuff. it takes long, but also you have like a huge book. Like if I think back to like Rick Riordan's like Heroes of Olympus series, where it was
Yeah,
like,
that's like the easiest comparison because
yeah,
like that's when you saw how drastically his book size changed
it was
from.
like maybe an inch to like 2 to 3 inches, and I was like, oh shit.
But I still think he did a really good job of like trying to like blend in multiple perspectives because that was also different for him
Yeah.
because he'd always get. But it's a weird. I will say it's a weird perspective that he gives because what was it? It's not even like when you're reading the chapter for like each person, it's not even like in first person. It's like
Yeah.
third person, something like
Yeah.
that. There's like a term for it, I can't remember, but it's like you're still reading it in third person.
Mm-hmm. But it's like, yeah, I don't know, man. It's ugh. Anyways, I think it was good, but I appreciate the variety that we're getting because obviously, like, sometimes I wonder, like, oh, what is the prince's like thoughts here, or like, what was going through his head when he was like, oh yes, I wanna let me just get close with Chris and Celeste, and like see what the vibe is there. So like sometimes I do want to be like, what the hell were you thinking, dude? And then like the books or like the novellas are like, so this was what he was thinking. And I'm like, all right, it kind of makes sense. I mean, I still don't approve of it, but like it kind of makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah. Okay, I just looked up the Matched book series that you mentioned earlier because it was kind of familiar, but I couldn't remember exactly. And then I saw the covers right now,
Hmm.
and yeah, I definitely read the first one.
Yeah, it
I
was
think I
yeah
tried reading the first one, and then I got bored.
bored.
Like I didn't feel like reading it, which happens a lot with series sometimes.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of like, see, the thing is, the difference between you and me is like, you just like, you're like totally fine being like, yeah, okay, maybe not. And like, you'll stop after the first book. Same thing with like TV shows, right? Because we've both gotten into like lots of like new and different TV shows since we're on break.
Yeah.
And like, you'll be like, yeah, I just kind of stopped it halfway through because I wasn't feeling it. But like, for me, I don't know why, but I have to finish it. Like once I'm like invested in like the characters I like, I'm like, okay, I gotta figure out what happens next. So I usually end up
Yeah,
reading
I don't
books.
think I'm invested, like as you say, but I think our investment is different.
Yes.
I think you get really like too into it sometimes, and then I'm over.
Hey.
Well, like I'm not like I feel the emotions, but I
Yeah.
also recognize that it's different. That's very much something I will say that that's probably something that was ingrained in me
Mm.
from my parents more than not because growing up, like if I got too into TV, like they got really upset. Like
Mm.
I remember growing up, like I get like long lectures essentially about like how sometimes I was too much into like the TV or whatever, and
Mm.
it would make them really upset. Like they were like, this is fake, and sometimes we think that you don't realize it's fake. And so I think from a very young age, like they were trying really hard to make sure that I didn't get like sucked into like TV
Mm.
like that. And then and I still love TV way more than they do, but like I think at a certain point, like I also was like, this is my time that I'm using up.
Yeah.
And if I don't enjoy it, like full fledgedly enjoy it, or like I know that there's something else that I should be doing that I'm not doing in order to watch this, like I will let go of this to do that. And that's only like in certain cases. Like sometimes I'm just like burnt out and I don't feel like going forward because it's just really extending it. That's probably why I'm so into YouTube because it's all like short media
Mm.
and
Short form content.
finite,
Yeah.
like ends after like a 10-15 minute video versus like movies. Or also like movies are great because they end in that
Yes.
period. But like TV shows can sometimes be like really extending things. And like if I feel like it's longer than it needs to be, or like I suddenly get distracted with something else, and I don't really go back to it.
Yeah. I get that. Like for me, it's like I've always been okay, like watching something all the way through because like I do like knowing the end of the story and how it ends. And like worst case, if like I really don't have time for it, I will be like the first person to just like wiki it and be like, okay, cool, that's what happens. But I
Yeah, if I want to know the ending but don't feel like watching it, I definitely so like on YouTube, by the way, like I don't know, maybe for your future reference, like if it's a popular enough show or just like a show in general, someone out there has probably made like a compilation or edit cutting together like
the important
important
parts.
scenes of like a couple or like the ending scenes at
Mm,
least. And like all you got to do is search up the show and like that couple name and then you'll get an edit of it and you can just watch it and then that gives you everything you need to know about the one storyline that you care about. I did that for Boys Over Flowers because I did not care for Janvi and Junpyo, like the two actual main characters. I cared for like a side character couple. And when I started to lose interest in the show and I wasn't going forward, I felt bad about it because I wanted to know what happened to that side couple, so,
mm,
but I didn't want to watch the whole show just to get like in total 10 minutes worth of screen
yeah,
time. So I just like looked it up on YouTube and watched like the compilation that someone cut together because Boys
that's
Over Flowers was
nice.
popular enough for that. And I got to see what happened to them and then I was happy and then I could go on.
And I was happy, and that's what matters. No, yeah.
Yeah, I actually ended up like searching up like how the show ended because I was like, I'm curious on how you'd end this, but like I don't want to see everything in between.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yes, Wikipedia has been a lifesaver. YouTube is also a lifesaver, as I'm currently finding out. But like,
Yeah, I grew up on YouTube from like middle school on.
yeah, your girl was not like, I don't know if I was not allowed, but like it wasn't really something we did in like my household. YouTube wasn't that commonplace. It was more
I mean,
like
not between me and my parents. This was like a personal like thing.
it was
I
like
had gotten into makeup. Like I just went
um,
on YouTube. I don't know why I went on YouTube. Like how I actually got onto the platform. Like it probably started off because of like looking up videos on how to do things for school.
mm,
That then culminated into me realizing there's other media on there. And
yeah,
then I found like makeup videos and that's really where it started was like watching makeup tutorials and then finding out that they do DIYs and watching DIYs and then well it's like it's snowballed into more obviously because like YouTube is not just that side. There was like a lot of like funny content that I really enjoyed watching.
yeah. I mean that makes sense. Um, I literally just grew up on like Disney Channel, like and I was a Disney fiend. Okay, I did Disney Channel. I listened to Radio Disney on like the drive to school. But yeah, never YouTube. That was later. But YouTube has become very much like a commonplace like in my life now. Um,
Yeah, half of the content that's popular nowadays is on there. Like content creators that are really popular on there making good videos.
yeah, that's true. Cause like also I feel like YouTube has become like a very big place that people kind of jump into. Um, they can like one you can make like a definitely like a you can make monies and like you can basically create your own brand on there. But
Hmm.
two, like for a lot of individuals, like it's like the starting point or the jumping point to like the entertainment industry. Like there's actors that like start out on YouTube or actors that like created YouTube after they were in the entertainment industry or like singers. A lot of them like we know our classic
I
Justin Bieber like type story.
Yeah, I was gonna say like it's I would almost like argue like yeah, like people like talk about how like YouTube gives an easy not easy pathway, but gives a pathway into like higher media.
Mm.
But like at this point, I think YouTube is its own
Level,
brand, own
yeah.
world because now what are you seeing? You're seeing actors and this quote unquote higher media like entertainers going into YouTube because they it's a place where you can make your own content.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that popularity is there too. Like people are seeing like you can make money off of making things that you want to make. Yeah, you have a brand because of your face and like your career as an actor in like Hollywood or whatever would, but um you are essentially able to do videos based off of your face and brand and
Yeah.
stuff and like that's always great. Um it's just like fun. Like if you want to do self content, like it's such a fun space.
Yeah, like I think
It's
that
not always happy, but fun.
yeah, my biggest like example of this is like Brie Larson. She's like huge. Like she's literally what, Captain Marvel. And like
Mm-hmm.
she recently, I think like last year, within the like last 6 months, transitioned into having her own YouTube channel.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, bro, it's kind of crazy. Like she already has this like huge like fan space, obviously because she's associated with the Marvel industry and the Marvel franchise. But then she also was like, you know what? Let's do YouTube. Let's do something
Oh,
different.
I was gonna say a big example was Will Smith, but yeah.
That you might that yeah, that is also one. A really good one, yeah. Man, Will Smith though. Will Smith definitely makes some entertaining content, I will admit. Like I watched his like skydiving video. Pretty fun. Pretty web.
Mm-hmm.
Would never do it, but pretty fun. But yeah, definitely like I think people are a lot more open to it. Like I think before like especially like this past year, like before it was definitely like if you're a YouTuber and you're also trying to get into acting, like how do you break free of that mold where you're like just a YouTuber or like right, like you're not necessarily like, a professional, you're just like on YouTube and that's like your big claim to fame. But now I
Mm-hmm.
think it's easier because it's more accepted and a lot more of the serious actors, like the pinnacle actors such as like Will Smith, Brie Larson, and like probably many more, but they're not coming to mind right now. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
like they're also like starting YouTubes and like I think the fact that big names are starting it or getting into it is making it all around more acceptable.
Yeah, it's a great space.
It is. It has all the content I could ever need, to be honest. You just look something up and it's there.
Oh yeah, it's like such a vast like things. Just like anything you need help on, you can find on YouTube and you can learn
Mm-hmm.
and get like a beginner level like introduction into like what is, something random like what like resin, like art, like
So
that's on
pretty.
YouTube, right?
Yes,
Or
yes.
like makeup tutorials or just like if you want to laugh, there's so many great
Yeah.
creators on that are
Also,
just like funny.
like practical stuff. Like I learned how to open my window from a YouTube video and like how to fix it. It's like very interesting stuff. They have it's basically stuff for anything. We should be sponsored by YouTube. Hello, shout out YouTube. But
YouTube does not spawn, but sure.
hey, I can have hopes and dreams, okay? No, but yeah, no, YouTube definitely a cool place. And like I'm kind of sad that I was introduced to it so like late in the game,
Mm.
but I think I definitely would have gotten so distracted by it as a child. Like
I
no
mean, it's
doubt.
not like it didn't exist before 2010. So,
Yeah, 2010 me would be like obsessed or like
well, there was barely anything in 2010. Create content creators came out around, yeah, like 2010, 2011. They were making things, but like the popularity of it didn't take off till probably like 2014, 2015.
hmm?
Content creators existed. Like there's like people like
Yeah.
Ryan Higa that like
Ah man.
have been doing it since
OG.
2010. But like the concept of like constantly making content and stuff didn't happen until a couple years after,
Mm.
I think. And then obviously by like 2015 they got really popular. You started to see like people with million followers and that was like kind of like mind blowing.
Yeah. That's crazy that a million people are like
I mean it's more now, like you know what I mean? Like
mm.
people have like tens of millions. Like PewDiePie has 100 million. So
Yeah. I don't but I don't understand it, but like I think it's cool. Like hella
mhm,
cool. Maybe one
yeah,
day. All
it's
right.
kind of insane.
So, we went on a whole like 180 type thing. But definitely like the thing is I don't know how big dystopian society is right now considering our current world situation.
Yeah, I wonder what is the in young adult novels now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because like I feel like for a
This
lot
whole
of
dystopian thing has been going on way too long.
I think because we had all these books, our reality has now become a bit more dystopian. So I don't think kids, at least I don't assume kids are like, yeah, I want to read more about, violence and like what would happen if like America wasn't, you know,
Yeah.
happy go lucky, all that stuff. Not that it ever was, but like as a child you idealize shit a lot. And
Yeah, you obviously don't understand like the intricacies of
yeah,
what's going on in the real world.
exactly. So I feel like I feel like that I think that people are at least young people are going more towards, romance and happy shit. Because To All the Boys is blowing up on Netflix. Obviously, some people might make them want to read the books, you know, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't know, not everybody, because like unfortunately, or not unfortunately, I don't know. Romance books are like targeted towards the female audience.
That's true.
And so I'm trying to figure out, but then the reason I think dystopian novels actually got so popular is because it is not just like one gender reading it.
Yeah, it can be multiple, which is like obviously better for the author is better for the reader. It's like all around a good option if both
Mm-hmm.
but like a variance of audiences enjoys it. But yeah, the selection I do think is definitely more geared to women, to females, but I think there's
Yeah.
also a decent amount of like some politics, interesting stuff here and there. But yeah, I personally like I think it dragged on a lot, which made it a bit harder for me to read and ultimately finish it.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be like 10 out of 10, but I do think like it's one of like the pinnacle books of like that time in our lives. So I'd be like, you know what? Yeah, maybe I'll like skim it again
Mm-hmm.
just for funsies. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna reread that series.
Yeah.
Not something that I consider something worth rereading, but I read it because I was interested in the concept of it.
Yeah.
And it's good. Like it was well written, well thought out,
Mhm.
but just if you don't like having to wait for like a couple to get together, maybe not the series. But at the same time, it's only 3 books.
Yeah, but
If
the
y'all were
three
out there reading Harry Potter, you could
that's on facts. That's
select.
true. But
Yep,
yeah. Okay,
I
okay.
think that's about it.
Yeah, I think we're gonna wrap it up here and then we will catch you guys next week for something different. All right.
Yep.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.